So anyway, I'm sure we've all felt sometimes discouraged in devotional service, like it's not working for us or something like that. So I wanted to look at verses 8 through 12 of chapter 12, where Krishna, that's fine, where Krishna is speaking to Arjuna about the process of devotional service. And we'll begin with text number 8. So if you have chapter 12, text number 8 in front of you, then please repeat after me. Mayeva mana adhatsva Mayi buddhim niveshaya Nivashishyasi mayeva Atta urdvam na samshayaha. Srila Prabhupada's translation, just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always, without a doubt. We're going to go through the verses. We're not going to actually read a bunch of purports. We're going to try to go through the verses one by one. Here, Krishna is saying that you will always live with Krishna. You will never feel separated from Krishna. You will feel completely always with Krishna. If what? When will that day come that we always feel Krishna's presence, that we're actually with Krishna? Not that, yeah, Krishna's that person way up there in the sky somewhere, someday, maybe after death, I'll meet him or something. But Krishna says, you'll always live with me without a doubt. When will that day come? What's the qualification for somebody to actually always feel that they're living with Krishna? To surrender to Krishna. And what does Krishna say in today's verse we just read? The mind is always fixed on Krishna. It never wanders anywhere else. I think we have quite the opposite experience. Our mind is everywhere else. And every once in a while, we think about Krishna. We discipline ourselves. Come on, think about Krishna. Pick up those japa beads. That's why we have our japa beads, so that we touch them with our fingers. We know, okay, I'm supposed to be chanting Hare Krishna now. So we vibrate the sound, listen, like that. So mostly our mind is everywhere else, and every once in a while, oh yeah, Krishna. But Krishna says, just fix your mind upon me, no other subject matter. And engage all your intelligence in me. That means our intelligence is absorbed in understanding Krishna, understanding everything about Krishna, understanding everything about the process for achieving Krishna, namely devotional service, understanding Krishna's teachings. Again, we're quite the opposite. Our intelligence is so wrapped up into planning and executing material pursuits. We want to study this topic and that topic and what have you. So Krishna says here that Arjuna, if you come to the point where your mind in full and your intelligence in full is absorbed in me and me alone, then you live with me always without a doubt. Now, how many of us are on that platform where that's all we do? Think about Krishna day and night with our mind and intelligence. What do you need to have in order to be always absorbed in Krishna like that? Who can do that, in other words, is my question. You have to actually have love for Krishna. You can't think about somebody that you're not madly in love with. You know, if I tell you, please engage your whole mind and your whole intelligence 24/7, meditating on a perfect stranger, and I just pick some random person out of the 8 billion people on the planet, and I pick one of them and tell you to engage your mind and intelligence fully on them, you won't be able to do it. Or even somebody that you might know, like a work colleague or something like that, unless you really love them. So when Krishna says to Arjuna, fix your mind and intelligence fully on me, the prerequisite is you have to be madly in love with Krishna. So Arjuna sort of hesitates. I can just hold it, Prabhu. So Arjuna kind of hesitates, like, oh boy, I don't think I can do that. So then Krishna says, all right, if you can't do that, don't lament. There's something else you can do. So we'll go to text number 9. Please repeat after me. Attachittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mai stiram abhyasa yogina tato mamichaptum dhananjaya. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, we all admitted we were in that category. So if you can't do that, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. In other words, our desire to actually have Krishna isn't strong enough. One time, Prabhupada was talking, about Maya, how Maya is always testing everybody and tempting them and this and that. So one time a devotee asked Prabhupada, if Maya is actually one of Krishna's devotees, she's doing his work in this world, so she's actually a devotee, then why is she so strong on the bhaktas? Why is she so heavy on the bhaktas? Because she should want us to be Krishna conscious, so why is she so strong on us? And then Prabhupada replied, because your purpose is not strong. Because your purpose to have Krishna is not strong. So, because our actual desire to have Krishna isn't sufficiently strong, then we can't overcome Maya and control our mind and senses to just fix them on Krishna. So here Krishna says, Arjuna, if you fall into that category where your mind cannot just stay on Krishna, then what you can do is follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. That's called sadhana bhakti. The first verse, text number 8, that's not sadhana bhakti. That is siddha, or perfection. That is for the perfect devotee, the person who's already graduated from the school of learning how to be Krishna conscious. So text number 8 is for the siddha, or perfected devotee. And text number 9 is for the unperfected devotee, for the practitioner, for the apprentice, the neophyte. That's called sadhaka. A sadhaka is one who practices. So here, when Krishna says just practice the regular principles of bhakti yoga, he means the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, which means hearing and reading the scriptures, hearing from the self-realized souls. And there's regular principles for doing so. Primarily, that one should hear from a pure devotee. And that when one sits down to hear Bhagavad-Gita, that they should be nivritta-tarsher. Nivritta-tarsher means free of material motivation. I'm not sitting here to hear Bhagavad-Gita with the motive that, if I do this, then I might get elevated to the heavenly planets and enjoy for millions of years. Or I'm going to get good karma to benefit from in this lifetime or something. So the regular principles of devotional service means to engage in the 9 processes of devotional service under the direction of a spiritual master. So shravanam, or hearing. Then kirtanam, chanting. So the spiritual master will prescribe so many rounds of Hare Krishna mantra to chant, etc. Then smaranam, remembering the Lord. The more we hear and chant, the more we remember. Then vandanam, offering prayers. Archanam, the deity service at the temple, the deity worship. Padasevanam, menial services to the devotees and spiritual master, like that. Then dasyam, actually coming to the point of totally identifying oneself as, I'm a servant of Krishna. And then sakyam, actually becoming in a friendly mood with Krishna. And then atmanivedanam, complete 100% absolute surrender to Krishna of one's full self. So Krishna tells Arjuna, if you're not a perfected devotee who can always think of me, then just be a sadhaka, a full-time sadhaka, not 2 hours a day. Here, he means full-time sadhaka. That's all you do, is you practice the regular principles of devotional service. Now, even that is a very high platform. How many people can 24/7 just do sadhana bhakti in one of those 9 categories, primarily hearing and chanting? Even that's going to be quite a rare soul. We might be able to do a little bit of sadhana, like 2 hours a day or something like that. But here, Krishna is actually referring to full-time sadhana. Now Arjuna kind of shrinks a little bit, and Krishna says, okay, you might not be able to do that. You might not be able to be all day fully engaged by the spiritual master. The spiritual master is saying, do this amount of hearing, do this amount of chanting, here's some devotional service to do, go out and preach, or go cook for the deities, or clean the temple, or whatever. You might not be able to do that. So then he progresses to the next text, which is number 10. Please repeat. Apyase pyasamartosi mat karma paramo bhava madartam api karmani kurvan siddham avapsyasi. Krishna says, if you cannot practice the regulations of bhakti yoga, then just try to work for me. Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. Now, some time ago, we were with one little community of devotees, and one of the devotees there, she's actually an initiated devotee, she said that she does not need to get a job because her husband makes really good money, so there's no reason for her to have a job. So her husband was saying, you're very lucky because now you can just stay home and do full-time devotional service, sadhana and devotional service. So she thought, okay. So she stayed at home, and after a short while, after a number of attempts, after a short while, she said, I can't do this. I can't actually stay home all day and do sadhana and various types of devotional service. I have to go out and get a job because I'm unable to sit here. I get bored. Then another woman in the community who was in the same situation where she didn't have to work because her husband's making good money so she can stay home, she said to the first woman, that's Maya to go get a job. You're so lucky you get to stay home and just do sadhana and devotional service. Why are you getting a job? You don't need it. That's Maya. So then this first woman felt really, really discouraged. Oh, I must be in Maya. So she asked this question in a class that we were having. So she asked this question, is it Maya for me to get a job when I don't actually need it? But I'm doing it to keep myself busy because honestly, even, I stay home all day, I can't read for more than 15, 20 minutes a day and like this and like that. So then we pulled up this section of Bhagavad-Gita because that's exactly what Krishna is addressing here. He says, don't be dishonest. When we're dishonest, that's when we get discouraged. When we think, oh, I'm supposed to just, unless I have to, I don't have, if I don't have to, I shouldn't get a job and I should just stay home and do full-time sadhana and devotional service. And everybody has to see that I'm doing that because that's Krishna conscious, and if I do otherwise, then that's Maya. But when such a devotee who actually doesn't have the proper taste for full-time sadhana and devotional service, if they try to live on that platform artificially, what happens? They start getting discouraged. They might even get to the point where they say, I don't like Krishna consciousness. It's boring. It doesn't satisfy me. So Krishna says, if you're unable to practice the regulations of bhakti yoga, don't just give up and don't fake it either. Instead, try to work for me. Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. So what does that mean, work for Krishna? Didn't we already discuss devotional service? Is it the same thing? No, here Krishna means just do some work for me, something that you like to do. You can come to the temple and render a little bit of devotional service, but primarily he's referring to just do some work, whatever that work is that you are inclined to do, but offer the fruits to Krishna. You're doing it for Krishna. Like a majority of people who have jobs are doing it for their family. It's for the family. You're raising some children, you're taking care of other family members. It's not just for yourself. You're working for the family. So here Krishna says, work for me. So in these purports, and a purport from the previous chapter, Prabhupada describes working for Krishna. And he says if one actually works solely for Krishna, then Krishna has to get 100% of the fruits of one's labor. Now, many people aren't going to be able to do that. Give 100% of the fruits of their labor to Krishna. Giving to Krishna means giving to the purpose of Krishna, the propagation of Krishna consciousness, the maintenance of Krishna's mission in this world. So even in this category of working for Krishna, there's different levels. The topmost level being, Krishna gets 100%. And then Prabhupada says, but if one can't give everything to Krishna, then at least he should give a portion to Krishna. At least a portion. But if a person says, I can't stay home and do sadhana all day and devotional service all day, so I'm going to go out and get a job to keep myself busy and to stimulate my intelligence or whatever it is, they will not make advancement and proceed to this platform given in text 9. They won't proceed to the higher platform of actually having a taste for sadhana and devotional service unless that work or that job that they do, they're actually giving the fruits to Krishna. So that's a very, very important point, that one can't shy away from or ignore the practice of full-time devotional service and sadhana, but at the same time ignore or shy away from giving Krishna the fruits of his activities. So some people might say, well, I can't work for Krishna. I don't even have that much of a drive in me to work for Krishna or give the fruits of my activities to Krishna. So Krishna says, okay, let's go to text number 11. So please repeat after me. Ataitad apyashaktosi kartum mad yogam ashritaha sarva karma palatyagam tattakuru yatatmavan. So here Krishna says, if, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated. So here, Krishna is saying, if you can't work in consciousness of Krishna, like, okay, I'm going to do this activity, and instead of doing it to please, say, my family, I'm going to do it to please Krishna, give him the fruits. If you can't even do that, then Krishna says, then what you need to do is at least you should find some avenue for giving up the results of your work. Prabhupada says at the end of his purport that in that respect, social service, community service, national service, sacrifice for one's country, etc., may be accepted, so that someday one may come to the stage of pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And earlier, in this purport, he says, "It is also found that one who is not even interested in the activities of Krishna consciousness gives charity to some hospital or some other social institution, he gives up the hard-earned results of his activities. That is also recommended here, because by the practice of giving up the fruits of one's activities, one is sure to purify his mind gradually, and in that purified stage of mind, one becomes able to understand Krishna consciousness." So Krishna then was saying to Arjuna, if you can't work for me and give the results to me, then you have to give the results to somebody. You can't just be attached to the results of your work, because your mind will not become purified. We'll do one more verse. Text 12. Please repeat. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasaj. Jnanad dhyanam vishishyate. Dhyanat karmaphala tyagas. Tyagach chantiranantaram. Krishna says, if you cannot take to this practice, you can't even do that. That's how, pathetic it is. Then, engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation. And better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. So in that purport, Prabhupada explains that when Krishna says cultivate knowledge, he doesn't mean mundane knowledge. Okay, I'll go to college and get a PhD in some field. No, he means cultivate spiritual knowledge. Knowledge about spirit and matter. Knowledge about the constitution of the soul. Knowledge of the Supreme Spirit. So Prabhupada ends his purport here. I'll just read the last paragraph. He says, in summary, to reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest goal, there are two processes. One process is by gradual development, and the other process is direct. Devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the direct method. That means the first two verses we read. Either we're always thinking about Krishna, in love with Krishna, or through discipline, we're following the regulative principles of sadhana bhakti. That is the direct process. And the other method involves renouncing the fruits of one's activities. Then one can come to the stage of knowledge, then to the stage of meditation, then to the stage of understanding the Supersoul, and then to the stage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One may take either the step-by-step process or the direct path. The direct process is not possible for everyone. Therefore, the indirect process is also good. It is, however, to be understood that the indirect process is not recommended for Arjuna, because he's already at the stage of loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. It is for others who are not at this stage. For them, the gradual process of renunciation, knowledge, meditation, and realization of the Supersoul and Brahman should be followed. But as far as Bhagavad-Gita is concerned, it is the direct method that is stressed. Everyone is advised to take to the direct method and surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So now we're going to say, wait a minute. Here, Prabhupada is saying that the direct method is recommended for everyone. But we were just admitting earlier that maybe I'm not so cut out for the direct method. So the caveat is that these verses, it is not like you fall into one category and not the others. You only fall into one category. No, we can have a blend or a mixture of them in our life. For example, many people in this room practice daily sadhana of hearing and chanting and remembering and serving the deity at home, etc. Many people in this room practice daily sadhana, daily devotional service. But we're not ready to do full-time devotional service. Therefore, we have to be honest. Therefore, we can't say, oh, I'm on the level of text number 9. So, therefore, that's all I have to do is I'm practicing the regular principles of devotional service, so text number 10, 11, and 12 don't pertain to me. That's not true. We want to increase our eligibility or our taste for devotional service, and Krishna has given many nice guidelines here that, okay, while you're doing part-time devotional service, part-time sadhana, maybe you need to add to your life some of these other processes, which Krishna said, if you follow them, you will come to the perfect stage. He didn't say they're Maya. So when that one woman told the other woman, you're in Maya if you get a job, she actually contradicted what Krishna said in Bhagavad-Gita. Krishna does not say that. What Krishna says is, if you have an occupation, then you must give the results to me. And if you, for some reason, can't do that, then you must give your results somewhere in charity to a good cause. But you can't just sit on them all for yourself. So most of us will find that we don't just fit into one category out of these 5 verses. We will have like a blend of them in our life. And so we need to practice self-honesty so we actually know where we're at. And if our ability or taste for doing sadhana bhakti is not so strong, then we should understand that maybe I need to pay a little attention to these other steps past text number 9. Maybe I need to offer more of my fruits of my activities to Krishna and his movement. Maybe I need to spend more time acquiring knowledge, etc. So Prabhupada here says, as far as Bhagavad-Gita is concerned, the direct path is recommended for everyone. However, that does not mean that we forego completely the different processes or steps that may be found in the indirect path. Rather, we can use those to augment our practice of sadhana and devotional service. Sometimes, I'm sorry to say this, but sometimes as we travel and meet devotees, communities of devotees, we find places where devotees are very strongly stressing on people that, oh, now you've been coming into the association of devotees for 2 months, now you have to start chanting 16 rounds a day and doing this devotional service and that devotional service and this and that and that. And the person actually isn't really ready for that. For example, there was recently one young man who actually moved into one of our Iskcon temples, brahmachari ashrams, and he was there for like a month or 2. And he did the whole program. He did everything that the brahmacharis do, wake up early, go to the whole morning program, chant 16 rounds a day, do this, do that, full-time devotional service. And after a month or 2, he left. And he said, I don't think it was that I was not sincere. I'm actually really sincere about, God realization. I tried my best. I did everything nicely, but it didn't work for me. I did all the chanting and the reading and the everything, but somehow I don't feel like it worked for me. I didn't get any higher realization, So he got really discouraged. And he left. And he said, I probably will never come back. Not that I have anything against Krishna, but I just really have decided this path doesn't work for me. So the devotees were trying to discuss what went wrong. What went wrong? And I then brought up this section of verses from Bhagavad-Gita. And I suggested that perhaps he wasn't cultivated properly. Perhaps he was too quickly encouraged to jump to text number 9, being fully engaged in the regulative principles of bhakti yoga, when in fact, if he had taken what looked like a little bit slower step-by-step route, maybe it would have given him an encouragement, and gradually he could have come to that stage naturally of what text number 9 says, having a taste for full-time sadhana bhakti. So this is a very, I feel, important section of 5 verses in chapter 12, 8 through 12, that each of us should really understand what's being said and why is Krishna even saying it if it's not important. If he thinks it's not important, he wouldn't say it. So we all have to be honest in our own life, and we have to be especially honest with others, or encourage them to be honest, I should say, when we are in the position where we're kind of preaching to people or cultivating people or counseling people, advising people on how to take to Krishna consciousness, that we shouldn't think, because even Prabhupada said in the purport that even jumping to full-time sadhana bhakti is going to be for a rare soul. Not that many people are going to be ready for that. So we have to understand that that we have to encourage people to cultivate knowledge about Krishna and to voluntarily offer the fruits of their activities to Krishna. And we have to practice that in our life too, not that in the name of being a sadhaka, I neglect these other helpful practices. Otherwise, we become discouraged, or worse than being discouraged, or maybe just as bad as being discouraged, we become pretentious. We become pretentious, which means we pretend. We pretend that I'm on such and such level, when in fact I'm not. But maybe we want to put up that front because, that's where you're supposed to be, and you don't want anybody to know that you're not there. But what happens if we're pretentious or if we're discouraged? What happens if we're being pretentious, which means dishonest, or we're discouraged? We won't make any advancement. We'll be stuck. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years will go by, and we'll say, look at that. It's 2037, and I'm the same as I was back in 2017, because we didn't make any advancement. So honesty is the best policy. So that's the take-home point for today's verses, that we don't want to be pretentious and we don't want to be discouraged. That means we have to find for our specific, unique self the proper blend of these 5 verses in our life. Most of us will be a little bit in each of them, but one of them is like more prominent. So we have to find the proper balance in our life. So maybe we'll stop there, see if there's any discussion before prasadam is served. Madhav has something to say.
Thank you very much, Madhavi, for this wonderful lecture. And the topic was deception and discouragement. So, by deception, you meant pretension, right? Pretending. So, I have realized that when somebody pretends, he or she may be trying to deceive himself or herself and try to prove to herself or himself that, they're at a higher level than what they are. But it also affects the other devotees. Mm-hmm. Because once that, veneer of deception wears off or is taken away, then it's very discouraging to other devotees who are looking up to that person.
Exactly. Exactly. So this is the problem when we try to when we're dishonest, when we're pretentious or deceptive with our own self, maybe we don't realize it, or maybe we do realize it, but then we're cheating others. So this has been seen throughout the history of spiritual movements in this world. How many times you go to the newspapers and read about scandals of religious leaders, of this guru and that swami and whatever, because they and even their followers have put themselves up on some level that they're not. The next thing you know, next Thursday, they're calling them an avatar, and so the leader can deceive their followers, but then the followers can also be the ones that deceive the leader by glorifying the leader as, you're like this and you're like that, you're so fantastic, you're a Shakti Avesh avatar, you're God or something. And then they start believing, yeah, that's what I am. So dishonesty has to begin at home. If we're honest with ourselves, then others can't cheat us. We have to be honest with ourselves. Then we can be honest with others. And then dishonest people can't actually cheat us. So honesty has to be our, foundation of our spiritual life. Because what does Krishna say? At the end of each of the verses that we read today, Krishna said, and if you do this, he's implying, if you're honest and you practice this, platform, what does he say? Then you will come to the perfect stage. He promises Arjuna. He doesn't say, if you do text number 8, then you'll be perfect. Text number 9, 80% perfect. Text number 10, 50%. That's not what he says. He says, just be honest, fit into where you fit into. And it might, like I said, it'll most likely be a blend, not just cut and dry one category. But if you honestly practice, Krishna says, you will come to the perfect stage. And if you're not honest, then you won't come to the perfect stage. Purvi.
You've been stressing that the point of honesty. If honesty is so much looked upon, then sometimes why is lack of progress per se in spiritual life looked down upon? Like say, suppose, for example, I will say if I'm in this process in say 10 years, for example, and I meet some initiated devotee or some senior devotee from somewhere, and they ask the question something like, okay, so since how many years you are in this? How many rounds were you chanting before? How many rounds are you chanting now? And then when they see that maybe there is not much of difference, or if I have gone down, maybe from whatever I was chanting I have gone, then why is it look down upon? Why are you not increasing your rounds?
Well, that's because
I'm just being honest there.
because those devotees aren't honest.
I have been asked a question of, why are you not wearing a kanti mala? Your husband is
It's because those devotees aren't honest. An honest devotee cares about you. When they inquire, I mean. Like, let's say a doctor inquires, how's your blood pressure? How's your appetite? Whatever. They ask like a zillion questions, right? Why are they asking those questions? Not to like embarrass you or to criticize you. They're asking those questions because they want to see where you're honestly at so they can help you. They can encourage you. And if they know where you're at, then they can deal with you where you're at. You know, oh, you have diabetes? Okay, then we won't prescribe this diet. Oh, you don't have diabetes? Okay, good, we can feed you this diet. They have to tailor the treatment to each patient. So when we inquire, you know, from other aspiring devotees, oh, Prabhu, how many rounds do you chant these days? Or what's your, you know, practice like at home, or whatever. It's not supposed to be with the view, with the mood of, you know, I'm checking up on you, and, you know, I'm gonna get really heavy down on you if I don't feel like you're doing really well. It's supposed to be in the mood of seeing where you're at, so that I know how to deal with you. Oh, that's where you're at? You know how I can encourage you in devotional service? Not by preaching to you that you should be chanting 16 rounds a day and waking up at 4 o'clock and, you know, chanting all your rounds before 7:30. That's not how I encourage you. Rather, I say, okay, this person's on, this is where they're at. Right now, I can encourage this person by giving them some seva that they really like maybe they really like to bake. So I can encourage them. Hey, you want to like do 2 hours of service a day for Krishna? We've got like a bakery or something that you could help out in. Or maybe you like to do gardening. Okay, come on over here and do some gardening. That's what it means to work for Krishna. You're giving all the fruits to Krishna. You're not doing it for yourself. So that's why we inquire from people, not to be nosy. It's none of my business what your private life is. I only inquire so that I know how to engage you. And if you tell me, oh yeah, I used to chant 4 rounds a day, you know, now I chant 32 rounds a day, and I study Bhagavatam 2 hours a day, okay, now I know what kind of practices inspire you and enliven you, so now I'll, you know how to deal with you. Hey, Purvi, you want to come over? We're going to have a 6-hour Bhagavatam reading. You know. But if studying the scripture is not something that right now really enthuses you that much, then I find out what it is that does enthuse you. And then we stress that. Maybe you really like to do good work in the world. Okay, well, we've got a Food for Life program going. How would you like, and you're going to get so excited. Wow, we're going to feed, 5,000 people a week at homeless shelters and whatever, different places. We're going to serve prasadam. It's not going to be mundane charity work. It's going to be prasadam. And that totally makes you happy. Or you go to like orphanages or something. So that's why we were speaking what we were speaking today, because we have 2 things going on in our life. We have to be honest with ourselves so we know how to go forward in Krishna consciousness, and whether you like it or not, most of us are in a position where somebody else is going to be looking to us for advice in Krishna, because they'll see you as senior, because they're brand new or whatever. So that means each of us is going to have to learn the art. Prabhupada gave the example. You have a little flame. You want to start a campfire, and you have a little flame. But you want a big campfire. So if you come up, you have to give it some air, So if you come up to it and you blow on it really hard, poof, you just lost your fire. because you were too overzealous about it. You OD'd, overdosed. You gave it too much. But on the other hand, if you just go, it'll also go poof. So you have to learn the art on how to fan the fire. Not too fast, not too slow, not too much, not too little. So each of us has a spark, a little flame of interest in Krishna. You are sincere. Each person in this room is very sincere about Krishna consciousness. But each of us is an individual. We each have our own flame of sincerity. Now we have to learn the art of how to fan those flames. And unfortunately, as I was saying, as we travel around and meet communities of devotees, I find too many instances of quote-unquote more senior devotees fanning the flames of other people so briskly, poof, they get discouraged and go away. Or they feel like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be like that and I'm not, and I don't want anybody to think badly of me, so I'll just be pretentious. So, yeah, that means those devotees aren't practicing honesty, because their motive in questioning you should be to help you, not to be negative or whatever, discouraging. So we have to find those individuals who know how to encourage us. And each of us has that responsibility. Just like if all of us, if you want to go see a medical doctor, you have to pick your primary care provider. We'll all have a different one. But that's your responsibility to figure out that doctor that you feel comfortable going to on a regular basis. They get to know you and you get to know them, and there's trust. So each of us has to find one or more devotees that we know, I have confidence this person can encourage me. They know how to encourage me. I can put my doubts on the table in front of them. I don't have to be embarrassed to admit where I'm at. They're going to love me and help me on a personal level. They're not going to force me to be pretentious and what have you. So we have to, that's our homework, to surround ourselves by such individuals. They're called Shiksha Gurus, persons who give us personal instruction for where we are at, which means they have to know you, which means there has to be open, revealing the mind in confidence.
That honesty, the second in command of the Pope, he just got in trouble because he wasn't being honest. And then he's now getting he was subpoenaed to go to Australia. And there's a huge scam, and there's a huge scandal going on because he wasn't being honest. With that advice, it took me a long time to figure out that you want advice from someone, you want to get advice from someone who has nothing to gain. Mm-hmm. So usually if you pay for a counseling person, like when you pay for them, they have something to gain. So there's always they won't give you the full advice, or they won't give you, there's always be some ulterior motive. Mm-hmm. And that's why I've actually valued your opinion so much, because it's when someone has nothing to gain, they actually give the best advice, and that's why I respect both you. You're like my Shiksha Guru as always. It's very hard to find such a person who has nothing to gain.
Well, and that's what it said in the 10th canto, chapter 1, text 4, that in the discussions of devotees, hearing and chanting doesn't just mean reading scripture. It also means sharing our minds and discussing how can I advance in devotional service. That the listener and the speaker must be nivritta share. That means without material motive. They're not going into it with anything to gain. Therefore, they also have nothing to lose. Therefore, they have no reason not to enter the relationship. I have nothing to gain, so it doesn't matter whether I gain something from you. I also have nothing to lose, so you can't hurt me, you know? So if the inquirer and the speaker are nivritta share, then there's success formula. But as soon as there's material motivation, it's the game of the cheaters and the cheated. And Bhakti, I guess it was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said there's two people in this world, the cheaters and the cheated. And of both of them are cheaters. Because we can't get cheated unless we actually have a cheating mentality, is what he was getting at, you know?
People also give you advice, and like, I was wondering, like, if you, I never really listened to that, someone like asked for the advice, and they give it, that's like, when I really like pay attention to, because otherwise it's like, you know, people just need, like sometimes like, one of my friends, he was walking in the Valley, and he was walking barefoot, he wasn't walking barefoot, and someone just came past, like, why are you not walking barefoot, are you coming here to like, for tourism? And he got very offended that, you know, because it's like the first time he came to Vrindavan, he didn't know anything about Vrindavan. And he was walking with shoes, and then, you know, some, I mean, it's Brajavasi, but still, I mean, it's still, he still got, you know, it's just out of nowhere, he just got like attacked, and he wasn't really even doing anything with that. So I think when you ask for advice, and then when they tell you, then you can like say.
Well, I have one comment and one question. So the comment is when people make comments like Movie Mata just said, they may not know the person fully. You know, they look at one aspect, or you're not really Mala, but they don't know that she may be doing a lot of service. You know, unlike anybody else. So they only look at one aspect, and you should refrain from making such comments personally. And my question is that when you find in such situation that somebody you have been looking up to, or you know, somebody you've been associating, and they have a mask of deception, and then it comes off, it's very discouraging, disheartening to your personal sadhana. So how do you cope with that?
We can't allow disappointments that we have about others to color our desire for Krishna consciousness. We can't become discouraged just because other people disappointed us. I mean, it's natural, I know that's natural, but that's actually a material reaction. Because Maya is always testing us. And Maya can work through devotees. It's not that Maya only works through the materialists. Maya can work through the devotees even. So Maya can discourage you from your sadhana by putting you in some kind of a situation where you see deceptive bhaktas and then they disappoint you and then you get all discouraged. But we have to understand this is just Maya's trick. If I'm becoming discouraged in devotional service, that's Maya's trick. So let me figure out how not to be discouraged in devotional service, which means I have to get better association. And I have to just learn whatever lesson I was supposed to learn from that situation. And did I gain anything from that situation? If the answer is yes, okay. Meditate on what you gained. Because the world is going to be full of disappointments. It's never going to stop, ever. The whole world is just a big disappointment, even when we come into the association of aspiring, because we're not pure devotees, we're just aspiring devotees. So of course we're going to disappoint each other. You know, you're not Krishna and I'm not Radharani. You know, let's just face it. That's part of our dishonesty. That's part of our dishonesty, that I think, oh, now I'm in the association of devotees, so that means everybody's perfect. Well, that must mean I'm perfect also. So just because they're a little more deceptive than I am, a little more dishonest than I am. So what? We're all guilty of the same crimes to one degree or another. So we just have to be on guard. Rupa Goswami, in the third text of Nectar of Instruction, tells us how to not become discouraged. Utsahan, right? Nishchaya daryat, etc.
And then you hear and read so many things on the internet, that are disturbing.
Then don't read them.
You just show up.
Well, doctor, when I eat these particular different foods, I get a big stomach ache. I feel like fainting. Then don't eat those foods. Yeah, but they always put it on my plate. I didn't ask for it, but it just shows up on my plate. So discretion is the better part of valor. We have declared war on Maya. You've heard that, right? Prabhupada said, we have declared war on Maya. So what happens if you declare war? My country just declared war on your country. What's going to happen? Well, that country is going to now bring out all their ammunition. They were just peacefully sitting there. Then all of a sudden, I declared war. So now they're going to come out with all their army and all their ammunition and bang, bang, bang. Before, they were just passive. So I riled them up, So we've declared war on Maya. So now Maya's going to come up she's going to pull out all her guns. She's not going to keep any of her tricks hiding from us. She's going to come out with her full artillery. Right there on your Facebook, you're just trying to read your Facebook feed and all this garbage comes in. Discretion is the better part of valor. We have to protect ourselves because nobody else is going to protect Who's going to protect your consciousness? When you're on your phone, it's all just you and your phone. There's nobody there to protect you. And if we're weak and we can't protect ourselves, then put the thing down and say, goodbye, delete. Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you for your attention. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita as it is, Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Quickly sing Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajajananandana. Yashodanandana Bhajajananandana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Maharaj, Bhagavad-Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we thought we would read from Bhagavad-Gita this evening. So please first repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pastyacha Deshatarine. So tonight we're going to read from Bhagavad-Gita as it is, with translations and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, let me just see something here. I picked out some verses from the 12th chapter entitled Devotional Service, 12th chapter, and I thought we could just discuss them, beginning with text number 10. No, not number 10, excuse me. Starting with text number 8. And we're going to go through 12, 8 through 12. Everyone here tonight is aspiring to be Krishna's Bhakta. We're all engaged in some kind of practice of devotional service, even if we're just beginning, or we've been doing it for decades. We're all trying to practice devotional service. So I'm sure each of us has had this experience of sometimes feeling discouraged in devotional service. Maybe we feel like it's not working for me. I read about it in the books, but in practice, I don't feel like it's working for me. I think we'll put it in here because I